Well, this topic might get me flamed in the comments, but I still think I have to have my say on this. At the end of the Chinese Grand Prix, just like every other weekend, the top 3 drivers pulled up to their position signs as per Parc Ferme and begun to celebrate. But, in the background, unlike anything we had ever seen before, a board was in place for Zhou Guanyu, the first Chinese driver to race at the Chinese Grand Prix ever. A massive accomplishment for the Chinese driver, with Zhou getting out of his car and waving at the fans, and after seeing them scream back at him, drop down with his face in his hands crying, with the overwhelming emotions getting to him. This was a beautiful scene that would bring a tear to anyone's eye, but as I watched this, I couldn't help but get a sense that while this was a beautiful scene, I felt like everything was set up. Now, I do want to start off by saying that the emotions are 100% real. I would be crying too in the same place, but even still, this shot here is the thing that kind of got me thinking. Why does everything, seemingly recently at least, seem so set up in Formula 1? So let's go back to this shot real quick. This beautiful scene had to be captured by cameras, of course it had to be. But is this many cameras necessary? Yes, I know that the networks would want to have this shot for their feed and for the fans and the stories that will be created from it, but this shot just gives me one of the biggest icks I think I've ever had while watching this sport. This man is crying after finally getting his dream of racing at home, and it had to be put all over social media with cameras all in his face as the emotions were running high. Now, was this shot going to happen because it was his home race? I mean, yes, of course it was going to happen, but my first question I thought of was, why? Why does Zhou even get his own board? Now, of course, this was an incredibly special day for Formula 1 in China and racing as a whole, but with the not best performance this weekend, should he really be put with the winners of the race just because he was the first Chinese driver to race in China? I don't think so. As I said, the weekend didn't exactly go well for Zhou. He did have quite a good sprint qualifying, all things considered, but after that, Bottas completely outclassed Zhou for the rest of the weekend, and Bottas was probably on for points during the main race if his engine didn't give out on him. Plus, with the amount of DNFs that happened this weekend, if they hadn't happened, Zhou probably would have found himself finishing around P18 or P17 instead of P14, which still isn't exactly something to write home about. So, the shot would have happened if he wasn't on the grid 100%. But I feel like that was part of the reason why I didn't like it. It felt forced, and better yet, unnatural. It felt like Zhou was almost forced into a place for this to happen, with his crowd right next to him, the winning drivers ahead of him, and just getting out of his car with 4 cameras just right in his face as well. It all just didn't seem right. I guess what I'm trying to get at is that every now and again, I stop feeling like I'm watching a sport and now feel like I'm watching a show, and not in a good way. People complain, me included, about the Las Vegas pre-race show, where most of the drivers just didn't look like they wanted to be there, with even Drive to Survive showing the drivers before the show not looking happy. Or how about the pitbull call-outs pre-race that happened as well? Or how about the whole will.i.am music that happened in Miami? So it just feels like if the cars aren't on track, everything else just has to be a show as well. I do understand that it's a bit hard to explain exactly how I feel in words, besides saying that everything feels like there has to be drama for whatever reason. Drive to Survive probably didn't make it better, because of course they wanted drama to happen so they can't have a show. But we know that they have sometimes twisted the truth before in the series just to make some more drama than there really is. So what do I think should have happened? Well, I think it should have happened in the pit lane with all the other cars per Parc Ferme. Some of the best small moments I remember are when the camera's on board after the race, where you get to see the drivers thinking about after the race. How about Daniel sitting on his tyre looking angry and sad about how he just can't get his McLaren right? Or Hamilton getting Behrman congratulations on the points? Or how about when Nick de Vries had to be lifted out of his Williams after a hard race at Monza? That's what I want. More of the real things and the small things. Imagine after the race, The onboard of Joe's car after the race was seen with him next to his car, honing in the emotions after the race. I don't know why, but it would have felt so much more real to me. I think it's probably because it would be truly on his own terms. No outside forces, just him, with his own emotions, the real side of him, and that side of F1 is I think what we are missing nowadays. Remember Daniel screaming in his helmet, Schumacher going over to fight Coulthard, Nico and Lewis going at it at press conferences. That to me is the true drama that F1 is just seeming to be missing lately. It no longer feels like the emotions of the drivers are real, that the only emotion we get to see of the drivers when that is real is the anger, like with Stroll pushing his trainer or Max pushing Ocon. It sometimes feels like we no longer have the true emotion that made F1 what it was. I guess the thing that made me the most annoyed about this though was the fact that it was like the emotions were being used as a product. Like, Liberty Media was just using his emotions to get to the Chinese fans to watch more F1 and to get more Chinese products in F1 marketing. I know it sounds like a conspiracy theory, and that's all good, but I still like to think that this wouldn't have been given the spotlight and should have just been given the right amount of treatment of letting the emotions be more real than the forced emotions I believe might have been seen this weekend. But, either way, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Should Joe have had his own board? Should he have just been allowed to be its own thing? Let me know in the comments below. And make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss a video. I've been Connor, signing out.